Wonderful. So why don't we start? So my name is Jason Lindstrom. I'm one of the co-hosts, and today we're going to be learning how to build a Get It culture and lessons learned from Talk Shop Media with Katie Dunsworth-Riak. And I am, of course, one of the co-hosts, and here with me today is Jerry Grattan. He is one of the co-founders of Trailblaze Partners. So welcome.
Thanks, Jay.
And yeah, my pleasure. And just as people are dialing in, I would love to throw up a quick poll question. I'd love to ask you, and this poll question will help shape today's session. Give me a moment here.
You got this, Jason.
Wonderful. So you should now see this up on screen. From the topics below, what are the topics you're most interested in hearing about? And this is very relevant because Katie has actually developed programs around many of these. So please feel free to take a few moments to answer those questions. You can select more than one topic if you want to. I see
all
lots
of
of
the
votes.
above.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to click end poll and I will share some of the results with the team. And poll, and let's share results. So here's what we got. It looks like learning about remote work is of a lot of value, but the top one is how to invest in staff ideas, which is an awesome topic.
I'm going to have to ask you about the residence program, Katie.
Sure. Yeah.
It still happens. We have an expert on said topic. Wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll down.
Yeah.
And for an agenda, I'm just going to briefly share our mission, and really we're going to spend the majority of time chatting with Katie. And just as a reminder, the whole point of these webinars is to help people leaders like yourself, those people on the call today, just really build the best cultures possible. Which leads me to today's speaker. And Jerry, why don't I turn it over to you, my friend?
Yeah, thank you, Jason, and welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. So it's an absolute pleasure to be speaking today with Katie. She's one of my favorite people in the world. She's a co-founder of Talk Shop Media, which is, for those that don't know, one of Canada's most disruptive PR communication agencies. I had the pleasure of working with Katie back in the old days, let's call it the old days, working at 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And those were in the days when PR was absolutely fueling the hyper growth of that organization. Katie went on to do much bigger and better things, including Talk Shop Media and, being on Oprah, just a few little things like that.
My husband jokes that's going to be on my tombstone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was on Oprah. She's our guest today, though, on the Culture Builders webinar, because I really love how she believes in the importance of building a culture that's family friendly and really raising the bar on that we can build those kinds of organizations. Some of you may recognize her from being on Global and CTV and other shows like that. We're just happy she's here on the Culture Builders webinar. So thanks, Katie, and welcome.
Thank you. That's the nicest intro, and you're one of my faves, all-time faves.
Thank you. I was fishing for that in return, of course. So Katie, I kind of started to talk a little bit about Talk Shop, but maybe just to sort of ground us all and kind of maybe you can tell a little bit of the story of Talk Shop and how, you and your co-founders set out to build this women-friendly, women-led, family-friendly organization.
Yeah. I clearly love women and women business partners because I've had like 8 of them over my lifetime. So I set out, after Jerry and I worked together at 1-800-GOT-JUNK, I had kind of 2 overlapping opportunities that, looking back, I'm like, God, can't believe I did both of those things at the same time. But I launched an agency. I really just started out as a consultant, and met my first business partner, Beth, actually through a client. And I remember thinking, like, I was out working in Annacis Island, and I was like, why are you here? You seem really like dynamic and great. And this is literally next to like where the poo plant is. And anyways, and so she was looking for a change. So she ended up joining me. And I, at the same time, was doing, we got an opportunity. We had just been on Oprah, which Smart Cookies was like a money group for anybody who doesn't know that. And yeah, we were a money group that got on Oprah and then had all these really wild opportunities kind of fall into our lap. So a book deal with Random House, we wrote 2 books with them, a opportunity to shoot a pilot that then got picked up by the W Network and eventually Oprah's network. And so I was kind of just like in a place of yes, where I was like, I'm just gonna do everything. I was 25 or something. And so I was like, I'll just do all the things. So Beth joined, helped build up, at the time it was called Spark, our PR firm there. And then I was trying to like tape the Smart Cookie show and do that. And then I would say like I was doing both for like a few years. And right around the time when my husband and I were trying to start a family, like the Smart Cookie stuff kind of had a shelf life, in the sense that the 5 of us, sorry, I thought I turned off my notifications.
Work from home.
Yeah, right. So we were trying to have a family. And then I kind of realized like doing both maybe isn't sustainable. And the 5 of us being sort of equally in that business wasn't sustainable. So ended up having my daughter. And around the same time, we took on, we merged with another company, added a 3rd partner. And then really after that point, kind of grew like wildfire. So we've been, growing pretty consistently year over year. And now we're probably similar to what you were saying, Jason. We're about 50 people in Toronto, Calgary, and Vancouver. And really, again, I think I like, it's a very simple philosophy, but I just want to treat our team and be a role model, I guess, and treating in like our employees the way that I would want to be treated, and probably was treated in a lot of ways. And that's one of the blessings of coming from a place like Got Junk, where, you know, you just got to learn some really, you know, great things from people who valued people. And so I've tried to bring that to the
So good. And so easy to say, but so hard to follow through with actions and programs. So that's what obviously we're gonna dig into through the rest of the conversation. But thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And indeed, that's a great transition to one of our first questions. So the whole topic of today is how to build a get it culture. And I'd love to hear in your words and your experiences, what does that mean?
Yeah, I get it. So a few years ago, we really felt like, and I just have I'm in communication, so I have such a like fundamental issue with like what I think are kind of overused, nondescript like values like integrity. And I'm like, okay, but like, what is that? How are you like living that? So we came up with our team what our values were, and one of them, which I like love so much, we called Get It, which is like has multiple, you know, ways you could mean it. So get it is like get after it, get it girl, like that kind of thing. But it's also like in our business, you have to be an incredibly fast learner, and you have to grasp like complex concepts and distill them to like a really kind of like 5th grade level to be able to communicate them easily. And so we deal in like technology and emerging, you know, industries like psilocybin or, you know, like blockchain and things like that, where, you know, they're complicated concepts. So we need to be able to really communicate that easily and have team that like gets it. So a get it culture to me is just that kind of perfect combo of, you know, people that are quick, sharp, but that are also like driven and you know, want to get after it, and then also just like hustlers.
That's excellent. What I just heard is it sounds like it's one of your core values, but you also weave it into how you recruit inside the business. Is that correct? Like how do you I love the value, but how do you like tactically bring that get it culture alive in the business?
That is an awesome question. So I mean, it's really interesting, and I can get like super granular on this if you want, because this year, I've talked to Jerry about this a little bit, like we really got rocked by like the BLM movement, Black Lives Matter, and just really needing to take a look at, I think we have had like a very homogenous culture of like nice white people like that are like, you know, and in a lot of cases to be in that position, there's like a certain amount of privilege that had to have occurred, or anyway. So this year, so I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, previously we would have just really looked at, like, we would have had the applicant, looked at their experience, met them, you know, interviewed them on sort of like our typical criteria, which is just a mix of like experience, you know, industry, and what we would call get it. And get it is really like energy and enthusiasm, really understanding. So we ask for like writing samples, and we actually get them to do something that's like what they would have to do in their job, and look for it there. And then also that kind of like, when we're talking about things, are they, you know, do we see that they're really grasping where we're going? And that, I think now post Black Lives Matter, we've just, not that we don't look for get it, we absolutely do, but we've really taken any potential like bias out of that. So we have like a screening process where like all the names are removed, so you just don't. And not that I think that was I think that's the scary thing, is like a lot of that was like kind of unconscious stuff. Yeah, so we still look at get it, but we have a bit more of a, like, I think, well-rounded process to get that in. And I think are a lot more proactive in being like, your get it doesn't have to look like my get it. Like, it just, at the end of the day, it's like you're able to deliver on the things that add value to our clients, add value to our team and culture. And by adding value, I mean, like, you might totally disagree with me. We kind of need that. Like, we need people who are not just like bringing the exact same stance to everything.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, thanks. And you know, so many people, I think I love that you've gone the extra mile to try and define get it, because I've certainly heard, you know, I've used that before as like a competency, like, you know, they just get it, and it's like one of the criteria for promotions. But then when you start to peel it back, you're like, what does that really mean? Does it just mean I like them? And so I love how you guys have taken that and really challenged yourselves to define it and go, okay, what does that mean? So hats off. Yeah, nice. I think I saw that, you know, there was good on the poll. There was lots of votes for lots of different programs that you guys have. But when I introduced you, I said that you're trying to raise the bar on, you know, a family-friendly organization. So maybe like talk about maybe tell us a little bit more about some of those family-focused policies. Like, and I think particularly there's probably some people out there that want to learn a little bit more about 100% top up for a rental.
In like pretty much an all women of childbearing age company.
Yeah, that must that's definitely putting your money where your mouth is, Katie. So yeah, maybe talk to us about that, and also just what the benefit of doing that has been for the organization, not just for your people.
Yeah. So, I mean, so I should clarify, like, we have 100% top up. I'm a PR person, so I lead with that, but it's like asterisks, you know, so our top up starts after 2 years. So we do 75% top up from 2 years. After 5 years, which we have a lot of plus 5-year employees, it's 100%. So I'll just be upfront about that. But like in this last year, you know me, Jerry, I like to talk about money, but
That's right.
we spent over $600,000 in mat leaves. No, sorry, that's probably over 2 years, but we've had an inordinate amount of mat leaves, and I still would say that's probably one of the best investments we could have made. I think what you end up getting is a level of, not that like I need to buy loyalty. I don't think that you should have to do that, but I think you get a level of like respect and appreciation from people who, you know, just want to return to work and work harder, or, you know, do their best because you've treated them and their families right. And I think it would be really tricky and a little bit like short term if you were just like, oh, we have this great policy, but then you come back and you work 12-hour days and you never see your family. Like, and actually when I go out to Toronto, I'm like, these are really unsustainable, like, working hours. People, I mean, pre-pandemic, where it's like drop your kid off at 6:30 and you pick them up at 6:30 and you see them for like 40 minutes in a day. And so we really tried to not do that. Like we have a very flexible, this is also pre-pandemic and still do, where it's like, you know, you need to obviously be accessible to clients. That's who our customer is. But if you want to drop your kids off, if you need to, you know, pick them up, if you want to work from home, we are really, really, really flexible on those things. So I think we've tried to combo the two, where it makes sense for us to top up from a retention and performance standpoint. And then we have to couple that with like also being able to sustain it where now they have a family and they can actually see them.
Yeah, totally. And I would imagine that in your company, it's so much easier for people to have that conversation about, I need to ask if I can, you know, adjust my schedule this way. Whereas I know that that's a conversation that some people kind of really get anxious about having with their company or with their bosses. And I think to me, that speaks to creating a culture of that, because it's okay to ask, right?
Yeah. And I hope that that's just not just because we're women. I hope that it's because we've made it like safe and comfortable. But sometimes I worry that it's just because we're women and that in an organization of men that wouldn't be normalized the same way. I don't know, but yeah, I think we have done that.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
I'm going to pass it over to Jay.
Yeah, when I think about what you just shared is if I was to, in my own words, kind of put an umbrella statement over that, or if I could envision myself what it would feel like to be in your culture, what I heard is that you fundamentally and like kind of authentically really take good care of your people, and that's reflected in our program, like 100% top up for maternity leave, and then also giving them a flexibility in work. And it would be super neat to see how. I suspect, again, that your retention is super high. You probably have a lot of applicants coming to you as a result of these types of initiatives and programs. That's amazing. So huge check mark from an outsider's perspective. A check. But now if I may kind of switch gears, have you or the team ever had a cultural failure in your business or that you struggled with? And I'd love to hear some stories around that.
Yeah. Cultural failure. So I think, you know, one of the big things, and I'm like a big believer of like, people do as you do, not as you say, right? And so if you're not living it doesn't matter. So you can say all the things people innately know. And so I think one of the things that was a cultural failure in the early days, especially when we were really small, because I think we're actually still kind of a top heavy team. So I have multiple partners, and then we have, you know, quite a robust senior team. And I think in those early days, like we spent way too much time, like almost managing the wrong things, but I think it became kind of like a toxic, I don't like the stereotypical like women being catty, sitting around gossiping and whatever. It wasn't that, but it was like unnecessarily critical of people and things coming from us. When that energy could have been spent, you know, coaching, being supportive, whatever. So I think that was kind of like a big eye opener. And I think one of the things I'm going to do a big plug for you guys. One of the best things we ever did was hire consultants. I just don't think you get the outside perspective that you need, like sitting around navel gazing and talking with the same people you talk to every day. I think there's things you can do, but like, when I look back, I'm like, it was when consultants came in and like shook it up or pointed at something out, and then we changed it. And I think the first person that we hired was really like kind of blown away at the amount of time we spent doing the wrong things. Like we were like not just like in the business, on the business, like in the business in a really unproductive kind of toxic way. And he was like, oh my God. So he mapped out like, your business only needs you like here. And like, if you're here, like what a waste of time and money and energy and resources. And PS, you're telling these people like, you can't do your job. I have to do your job. You're not even good enough to do the thing we've hired you to do. So that was really, really valuable. And then we've every year pretty much hired somebody outside to come in, whether it's to help us with strategic planning, to train us on certain things. So yeah, I think that has been like a big game changer.
Wow. Yeah, sometimes the hardest things to hear are the things that are the most valuable, right?
Totally.
Yeah. And they like, I mean, again, this is a cultural thing, and I leave it all with us, is like, we had a guy in last year who was like, you guys are growing and like fast growing company, but you're also like very democratic, and you wait for the slowest person, which like I didn't always think was a bad thing, but he's like, it's like holding up the pace of change. And so if you just are like, if this person's not here, we have their proxy, we keep going, like we just keep making decisions. Right. And even stuff like that was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, we permission to do that. We don't have to get 100% consensus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was really eye-opening.
Good on you. Good on you. And thanks for the plug for consultants in general.
Yes.
We're not, we're good people. We're trying to help.
Oh, I think you get your money back in spades. Anytime we've invested, we've seen like almost immediate impact in our growth, or
Great. So sticking with the theme of like, oh, why don't you tell us about this other program that you guys have? So the number one from the poll, the number one was about investing in staff. And I translated that right into your residence program, but that might not be exactly what people were looking for, but maybe you can talk about just investing in staff ideas. And I know that was the birth of that residence program.
And we do invest in a bunch of ways, but the big one that seems to get like a lot of attention is in residence. So this we rolled out a few years ago. So when we started to become like quite profitable, we were like, okay, we want to just like, part of our big like long-term plan is to be more of an umbrella company of great companies. So Talk Shop would be one of them, and then we want to have other companies. And we were like, why would we go out and we have some incredible talent with incredible ideas. One of our other values is bright ideas. And so with team that have really bright ideas within our own walls, and what if we created like a safe place for them to build out like a startup, like a business where they still have a full-time paycheck. We're actually giving them permission to like on paid time, like work on something else. And then we would become investors and like part owners in that business. And so twice a year we do like a kind of like a Dragon's Den pitch, kind of where we're the judges. But I mean, at the end of the day, we've really tried to greenlight as much as we can. And I think that one of the things that does is, I remember feeling that when I was at Got Junk, where especially if you're kind of a driven person, I was like, I'm just gonna like talk about junk removal for the rest of my life. Like, and it's a grind. Like PR is also, a hustle. So it feels, I think it's smart to put yourself in the position of your employees and be like, they probably don't want to do this forever. So are we giving them a trajectory to like grow and maybe even diversify or whatever? So that I think really, that really like spoke to them. So one of the ideas which we greenlit, which has like been actually very challenging I have a lot of respect for the businesses that do this, is like a daycare, which makes sense since we're having COVID. And a cool model where it kind of uses like it's an in-home day anyway. So we got that off the ground about a year and a half ago. And then like another one was sort of like a one-to-many, like online learning. There's a lot of businesses that we get approached by that are just maybe too small for like an ongoing kind of retainered relationship with us, but we can do a lot of like skills development or help them develop like a plan and show them how they could execute it themselves. So so it's like an online learning series.
Yeah, great. I like you talked about, I think that obviously leans itself to retention, but you're also being really bold and saying, we might help you launch an idea that takes you away from Talk Shop. But I think that's okay, right?
Yeah.
And if you're going to 2 or 3 years, get their best 2 or 3 years
That's
out of
right.
them. Yeah.
That's right. And I think that the more you're kind of honest about that, I think the other thing that and that comes from this being this product of like, we have really strategically, like anyone that's in my space, especially in like Toronto, for instance, is going after awards for work, and we're going after awards for how we treat people. And it's like perplexing, but I'm like, we have the best people. Like we have the best, like we have a position open right now. And I'm like, everyone wants this job. Like it's like, which is just, it's like a very blessed position to be in, because then it's easier to get work. It's easy, because, and people want to work with you because similar to Got Junk, it's like, I love the people that I worked with there. Like those are lifelong, relationships. And I see that at our office too. And it's
such a virtuous cycle, right? It's yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
That's awesome. And I had another kind of question here, but I'm going to deviate just a little bit, because you just kind of mentioned about having the best people on your team, which is outstanding.
I'm biased.
Yeah, fair enough. But I suspect they're very, very, very good.
Yeah.
What sort of things have you done, or what sort of initiatives or tactics do you think you put in place to attract such great talent?
Yeah. Well, I do just believe in like the law of attraction, which is good people attract good people. They know good people. We have also like incentivized. So it's like if somebody within our team knows someone and refers them, I think it's like $1,000 or something. So there's some like financial upside to refer and get people into the organization. Sorry, what was the question? What
how do you attract, or how do you recruit this great talent? Yeah,
I think we really try to be like advocates of the kind of like, to paint the picture of what it's like to work there, so that you're also getting people who you can just, like, I remember I'm talking a lot about Got Junk, but I remember walking in that office and being like, oh, I belong here. Like, these are like people, they're like me. I get this place. And I think that's very hard to do right now in the pandemic, but we want to create that. So we try to do that through like our social media, profiling our team. I think, we're in PR and marketing, so we do put some bucks and energy behind marketing the positions too. So that's like through LinkedIn and again, social ads and that sort of thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. What about you've been on top employer lists and all those like that. Obviously that too, but is that part of the strategy? I guess it's a leading question, because I kind of like, or do you go, oh, we won that award, that's great, or we better go out and win this thing?
Yeah, if no awards existed, we would still absolutely do it. I think it's like, but you're right, it's part of the strategy of like, I would rather put my money into people and culture than like technology even, which is kind of crazy to say, but like, I think that that's a better investment. So I would have done it without awards, but then you get, again, we're in PR, so we're pretty savvy at like how to win awards. So then you're like, okay, like we should be B Corp, or, like these are like things that would be good. And so you do them because it's a good thing to do, but and sometimes they're not. Again, it's like, I look at some of the, I would actually like to put, we're doing this year, but like we put a lot of emphasis in past on like, the goalpost is moving, right? So it's going to be like Jedi and BIPOC. It's going to be sustainability. It's going to be, like you're giving back. And so you can't be ace at everything. So we started with the family bit, and I think we've nailed that. And then we're just expanding every year in terms of like what we think matters to our people, but also a little bit what matters.
Well, and how many, if I had a dollar for every candidate that said, I'm only talking to you at your company because you're on one of these lists. Like, I have choices and I'm only going to talk to top employers.
Yeah.
So why not, put it out there and try to get on those lists?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I always hope we don't under deliver. I hope we deliver.
I think you do. It sounds like you do. Yeah. I've talked to some of your people too.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, we should probably put it out there that, if there's questions for Katie, they don't.
Yeah,
everyone doesn't have to just listen to you and I talk.
Totally.
So you can start throwing those in the chat. But I know you've got lots more that you'd like to learn.
Oh,
from
I
Katie,
do.
so.
Okay, yeah.
I do, and Jerry, that's a great prompt, everybody. So I'm sure everybody's more than familiar with Zoom, but I'll just say it anyways. There's obviously a question window, so please feel free to pop your questions in there, and we can open it up to Katie to answer those in just a few moments. I in fact do have another question. Which is obviously things have changed a ton with remote work, with the pandemic. Katie, I'd love to get your impression. What do you think, or how do you think you'll have to build a culture among remote and co-located employees in the future? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm just going to give you, like, I don't have the data yet to be like, we're nailing it on this. So I'm giving you kind of my like gut feeling on some of the things that we're doing that I think do make a difference. So one of the things that we actually had in place before the pandemic, but has been like a blessing, is Slack. And I am like real anti, there's just too many ways to message me in life. And I was like, I don't want to do another thing. But I think if you have like, what I would say is like, you have to have 100% company-wide adoption or it doesn't work. And the adoption has to be, we will externally email, but we will not internally email each other ever. And it's been the best thing because in a remote situation, it's like you can very quickly like have a conversation, have like, we've tried to be like, could this just be like a Slack convo, not a meeting? So I think like from a connectivity efficiency standpoint, that was like a really great thing to have in place. But then what you end up having is like, we onboarded, we probably added 5 new people to the team, maybe more in like the last few months. And I'm like, these poor people, like they've never met, like they've never been in the office. They've never like met anyone. So we really try and like, when someone starts, like overlove them with like lots of, communication, coffee, virtual chat, where and when we can, we offer to just do like a walking meeting with like a mask, but like, again, where it's like okay to do that, and try and even make like in-person connections if it's safe, but not necessarily in the office. Like I know like so I know like a lot of our team like walk and go and meet that way, which I think is really great. And the other thing that we've done is like we do a retreat, and this year it was a virtual retreat, and same thing. I was like, blah, virtual. I'm just so sick of like, not that I don't love talking to you guys, but I'm so sick of Zoom. And so we've try to do like, they had like a meditation component where you turned off your screen, and then we did like a live sushi making, and everyone got shipped their like little sushi kits, and it was really, I was like, this sounds cheesy, but it was really great. We did this funny thing, because this is the last one, but we did this funny thing where so we broke into teams, so you break into groups, and then you had to figure out what did you all have in common as ingredients, and had to make a cocktail and then and like name it. So stuff like that. I don't know. It's like we try.
Those are so fun. Great examples.
Yeah.
Great examples.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, we got a question from Jennifer, and she's one of our inaugural Culture Builders Mastermind participants.
I feel like I know Jennifer. Do I know you, Jennifer?
Jennifer Irwin. Sorry to out you there, Jennifer, but she's asking. She wants to, and I think this is really valid question. But what are some of the things that you did? Because a lot of these programs, I guess some people are probably thinking, yeah, great. When you're this big, profitable, successful company, you can start throwing money at programs. But maybe speak a little bit to what you did in the early days. Before you had money to throw at things.
Jennifer, we were like 0 profit for like 5 years. So it was a long time where it was just like, we're just keeping the lights on. That's it. And you're right. It is a lot easier. Like anything, it's a lot easier. I was saying this to Judy yesterday, Jerry, where I was like, yeah, it's easy to be Zen when you have money.
Yeah.
Easy to be anything when you have money. So I totally agree with that. I think I think there's a lot of things that you can do that are like, I don't want to say intangible, but like time-based versus money-based. And I think really I would say like you got to articulate the kind of culture that you want to build and act like that, even if you're pre-profit. So what I mean by that is, if this is a place where you're really trying to empower your team by, letting them make decisions and then kind of coaching them when, maybe this didn't go the way you wanted, but you don't want to like take that away from them. I would say that was probably one of the things that we did is I think that like a lot of the exceptional places, both clients I work with, companies I admire, they really let their team kind of hit outside the league or hit outside their whatever. I'm trying to use a sports analogy and I clearly don't know sports.
Over the fence. Put it right over the fence. Yeah.
Pitch outside your league. Anyways, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, but where it's like they don't have that. That was my experience. When I got hired at Got Junk, I was like 22 and I had like a year of experience. And I remember in the job that I was in before that, I was sort of like a marketing coordinator and I was like, let me do PR. Like I have a journalism degree, I can write. And they were like, sure, fine. You're going to get paid the same. But if you want to just do free work, like that's fine. And I did. And they had that faith in me. In fact, like made it like a marketable service. And so I got something out of it. I got like experience and they really let me run it, which was great. And so I think, that could be something too, is like, use your time, invest, trust them, let them get some skills and experience.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost you.
It doesn't cost you anything. And in fact, it's
people opportunities.
And it's moving you towards what you want, which is like the kind of culture you want anyways.
Cool.
And thanks for the compliment.
Thanks for the question, Jennifer.
Yeah, thanks.
And I have a question more about the broad scope of today's conversation, which is you've shared a bunch of different programs, like how to invest in employees, the maternity leave. There's a ton of great stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on? I always love to kind of isolate, like, what are there one or two programs that kind of move the needle compared to other ones? Have you ever had a chance? Yeah, like, have you ever had a chance to survey your team and say, hey,
yes,
of all the stuff we do, what matters most?
Yeah. I'm just, again, I wish I had the data on that because we do survey them. That's a really great question. I would say that I actually think the things that they appreciate the most, which is like, this is kind of what you have to remember too. And this is where I try not to take it too personally, is like at the end of the day, like on the hierarchy of needs, like safety and security are a big one. So people need to get effing paid properly. And so like you can be whatever. And again, like I get it. If you don't have money, just pay the best that you can for where you're at. And so I think our team actually just really appreciates like competitive pay. We bonus and we give a lot of time off. And again, that's kind of like in lieu of pay. Sometimes it's like they're getting a month plus a month, like usually 6 weeks of paid time off. And that's on top of a pretty healthy salary. So I suspect if we ask them, we do all these wonderful things, but it's kind of the basics that they care the most about, because I get it. It's like at the end of the day, I would always go to these tech companies. I'm like, so great that you do beer and cake, but like you work your people to the bone and you don't pay them enough. So like, good for you.
Exactly.
Sorry if you do beer and cake. This is a great question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, are you looking at the one from Brian?
Yeah, the one about
Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that might be Brian Fawcett, who also used to work at Got Junk way back in the. He might be one of the OGs.
Brian.
So yeah, you can. He's asking, the question is about allyship, which is that sort of emphasis on social justice and sort of bringing that in. So just, I guess he's asking, please share how your culture fosters.
If I may, in this, for the sake of transparency, I didn't know what that term allyship meant, and I had to Google it while we're on this call. And I suspect I'm not the only one. Maybe everybody knows what it is. But so what is allyship?
Could you read your definition? Because I don't want to get it wrong.
No, absolutely. So allyship is a lifelong process of building relationships based on trust, consistency, and accountability with marginalized individuals and or groups of people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. So that's when I was referring to the stuff about Black Lives Matter, or you'll hear people say BIPOC, or we say JEDI, which stands for Justice, Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity. It's all in the spirit of allyship, and that sums it up. It's not work that you're like, well, problem solved. We're like allies and we're diverse. In fact, diversity, what I understand is diversity is really not what you should be seeking. Like you should be seeking justice and equity. And so that is, and again, like a lifelong process. So I am not an expert on this. I am at the very like early stages of recognizing that it is an incredibly important aspect for our organization to really like embody. So I mean, our process, which is not like right, we just were like, we need to get some Jedi voices at the table to tell us what to do. So we hired a consultant. She did like a very, you know, I think we started at the like, we just have to start at ground zero, which is like, are your policy, like what are your policies, what are your we did like implicit bias training, but there's so much. And so what I think is cool is like I'm a big believer that like, again, at the top, like and I will just say, because we have like some real social justice warriors in our team, and I'm so proud of them for being that way, but I'm like, women are a marginalized group. My business partner is a gay woman. That is a marginalized group. Like, you're not exactly working for the man. Like, you know, so like cut us a little slack. We're really trying, and like, we're white and we want to be less white, and we're working on it. And like all the things we want to be more inclusive, like all the things. But it's like a really, really important, not just topic, it's important for our culture to be better at this particular area. So we now have, so we did all this training. In the year of like a pandemic, we spent like a lot of money on it. And when like we kind of couldn't afford to, but we did anyways. And learned a lot. And then from that, really took those learnings, and then we're like, how can we make this our own? And so one of the things that we're trying to do is like, what we've realized is our particular industry. So like, we want more diverse, like people and opinions around the table, but we kind of get fed the same stream of like homogenous sameness. And so we're like, you got to start at the root, which is like a lot of these communities don't even have exposure to realizing this is a career path. This is a, so we're doing some volunteer work there with like different communities where we're just really trying to create like mentorship and education, that this is a like a potential career for people who like in all areas. And we are not just PR people anymore. Like if you like photography, there's a job for you at Talk Shop. Or videography, like there's a job. So so we're trying to do that way. Sorry, this is a long answer.
No. Yeah, but it's one of those topics that, you know, you just start to peel it back. But
totally.
you know, what I heard in there is, you know, hats off to you guys for exploring, you know, how you can be better. And that, you know, that sort of, all of that work doesn't start and end in the recruiting process of like, oh, well, we're just going to interview more people. You're going upstream and saying there's the root causes of some of these challenges that we face in society are not really just like our hiring practices. They're opportunity.
And that's the thing is like, you can, and that's like, again, culturally, I'll be very honest, like we have really put an emphasis on that. And then you get the people that you want in the door, and then they don't feel, you know, like, so it's not set up to make them successful. And so we have not always succeeded at that. Like we've actually really struggled at like, we hire, and then so there's not enough support or training or whatever it is. So we've really had to look at that over and over and over and over again. And again, it's like, it will be a lifelong process. And the only other thing I would say about that, like for us, is you can't manage what you don't measure. So we've had to make it like a strategic goal. We update in our board meetings, in our town halls, like we're very transparent about where we're trying to get to, what we're doing, and then how we're doing. Yeah, and we get called out. Like we had a wonderful team member who it just was not working. And our team was pissed. And they were like, well, have we done enough? And and I was like, we really have. I don't yeah. So, and we're a business. So at a certain point, we're not running a nonprofit. I can't have, those are hard.
Yeah,
those are really
hard,
really
hard things, but yeah, you guys are really trying to grapple with it, and that's half the battle right there. Good on you. Jason, you're the keeper of time and agenda and things. So we have time for another question, or did I lose you, Jason? We may have.
Yeah.
I may have lost Jason. So I'm going to assume that we've still got a little bit of time.
Yeah, there's one more question in the Q&A.
Yeah, I saw that one. And so it's from Joel. To approve a new employee experience program initiative, especially something that costs money, what kind of info do you like to see? So I guess this is also sort of probably staff generated ideas or people generated ideas.
Yeah.
Maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah. So I would look at it as, and I don't know, Joel, if you do any annual planning or strategic planning, we try to nail down for the year, what we're trying to accomplish. And then I would say we would really look for staff input based on the criteria of the allyship Jedi stuff is a big area for us. So that is one where we're like, you tell us, do you have an idea? Do you want to be involved? You tell us, and not putting it on them to fix it, but to be we're going to get the best idea when we're all kind of noodling on this and trying to be proactive. So I think that is usually how we look at it. That's
great. No, that makes sense. That's great. Thank you.
So my audio,
Jason, we lost you for a second.
He did. There. I know that was. I was like,
your big headphones
just cut out. So you can hear me okay now.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, you're
wonderful.
Good now.
Hey, so I'm just looking at the time, and as I'm sure you're just saying, we can start bringing this to a close.
Yeah, thank you.
Something I want to try just a smidge different. There's a bunch of people on the call today. I'd love for you to share one of your top takeaways. Just type it into the comment window. There's been so many good ideas shared, and I'm always curious what really resonates with some of the attendees. A few different things that, for example, I'll go first in the spirit of contribution. One of the things I was really excited about was I love how you invest in your own team and their own ideas, having your own invest in team ideas, your own version of Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah.
So, and I love to invite other people to type in a message there. Was it the maternity policy? Ooh. So Joel says, you can't manage, you can't measure. I love it.
I won't take the credit for that. Someone else smart.
Yeah, there's.
But
and Emily says,
spirited it back.
And Emily says, the team being everything. Hearing again, the corporate values need to be deeper. Absolutely. I love it, guys. Thanks for the the residency program. Yeah. I loved how much you used Jedi. I thought I was the only Star Wars guy in attendance today. I love it. Melanie Moore, maintaining culture while working from home. I love it. Awesome team. So I'm gonna
say one thing I really appreciated about you guys, and it made me take pause, is I very much appreciate the all of these things are great if you have cash. So I think that's that's a consideration too for me, is I need to think about that in giving my own responses, because there's a version when you've got some money and there's a version when you're kind of in the startup days. And yeah,
that was a good reminder, that question.
Awesome.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you so much, Katie. And just to bring things into a close, so for everybody who attended today, we're going to be sending a great little takeaway, the 5 key takeaways on how to build a Get It culture. And then in a few moments, I'm going to pop up a survey with 2 questions. We've recently launched a mastermind group, which is for senior HR people and cultural leaders. And we recently did the first session as well. It was awesome. Some really great people participating. And in a moment, if you're interested in learning more about it, you can just click yes to the poll question, which will be up on screen in a second. Jerry, any words you'd like to add to that?
Sure. I just would love to. We've got our first group going. Some great some great contribution and just a great, really well-rounded group. And we got one of the questions today was from one of those mastermind members. So we are ready to host get our second group going. There's a rumor that maybe Katie might be joining
I want
one
to.
of our mastermind groups. So I'm just going to toss that out there.
Yeah.
But we're building sort of the list of people that would like to attend. So if you answer yes to that, we'll reach out to you and talk to you about joining one of our mastermind groups.
And again, just to double down on the whole thing of masterminds, I'm a part of a couple mastermind groups now, and hands down the best learning I get. But my favorite thing is if you have a problem and you're in the right mastermind, 9 times out of 10, somebody's already solved that problem for you, gone through all that painful learning, uncovered those roadblocks, and you don't have to repeat mistakes, in summary. And it's just a really cool group of people.
That's yeah. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, no, I tell you, and then additionally, I'm the CEO of Bucket List Rewards. And so if you're interested in learning more about employee rewards and recognition, we'd love to see a demo. We'd be happy to show you one. And our platform is great for rewarding people for living core values, for integrating the tools you already use. And we certainly work with a lot of great organizations. But I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll now. And so, yeah, would you be interested in a mastermind group or learning more about the mastermind group? And then would you be interested in seeing a demo of the Bucket List Rewards platform? So I'll leave that up there for a few moments for the team to answer.
I think someone also asked, they might have missed where to apply. So maybe when you're.
So that just vote yes, and we'll reach out to you.
Perfect.
Awesome. Yeah.
There you go.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and end that poll. Thank you very much, everybody. So we'll be following up with the people who've expressed interest. And with that, I think we could wrap up today's call. And one quick question for you, Katie. For those who want to learn more about you or maybe follow you on the social different channels, where can they find out more about you and your amazing company?
Oh, that's so sweet. So a couple places you can go to our website, talkshopmedia.com, or check us out on LinkedIn, or I think we're on all the things like Instagram, Twitter. I think our Instagram gives you a really good sense of who we work with and what we do in the culture. And then we share a lot of, actually, we have a very cool program that's just wrapping up, but we have a Women in FinTech grant. So we're giving $30,000 to Women in FinTech company. So we're announcing who we're working with for that, and that's coming up. And that's there's a lot about that on LinkedIn.
Love it.
Okay.
Awesome. Nice.
We're in good hands with organizations like yours, Katie. We're in good hands for the future. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, you guys. Really a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Katie, thank you again. Jerry, always a pleasure. And thanks to everybody who joined us today. We'll be doing more of these, of course, in the future. And yeah, we're really looking forward to sharing the learning and continuing to share best practices. But with that, I hope everybody has an awesome Tuesday. And yeah, it was wonderful catching up today. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.